We're family, man. We are family. I said it last night in my video. I'm gonna repeat it again. A lot of comments came back negative on that video. I had 22 dislikes of the video. Don't know who disliked it, but clearly you don't agree with my stance of we're family. Just because you don't like what the incompetent front office did doesn't mean you have to dislike my video. I mean, come on now. What's up? What's up? But looking at this entire WNBA draft, and I'll have separate videos on some of these topics, but we could have been family in another way too. If the Indiana Fever had just done their job, if Kathy Crosskoff and Amber Cox done their job, and that would have been the draft, one of two players, Medina Okot out of South Carolina or Tanaya Latson out of South Carolina. Both of those players were available at number 10. Tanaya Latson is a scoring guard. Her jump shot could use some work, but she's still a scoring guard. And she's basically the same size as Kelsey Mitchell. And you would have her at a much lesser amount next year when Kelsey Mitchell hits the road, because I do see Kelsey Mitchell leaving after next season or this season. Or you could have had Medina Okot, a legitimate 6'6", 225-pound center who could have pushed Aaliyah Boston over to power forward or been the backup center to Aaliyah Boston. Either one of those things would have worked for me. Either one. Instead, they went the direction of drafting a point guard, and it doesn't matter that it's Raven Johnson. It's just that they drafted a point guard. Was there a need for a backup point guard? Yeah, kind of, sort of. But logic would not have you draft a player that has just made comments about your fan base that paints it in a negative light. I mean, she stopped nothing short of calling the Indiana or Iowa Hawkeyes fans racist, referring to comments of monkey in her social media, as if the fans of Caitlin Clark really had the energy to go do that after beating South Carolina 77-73 about 4 years ago, 3-4 years ago in the Final Four, the official wave-off game, right? Except you forget one thing. South Carolina, the state of South Carolina, was flying a Confederate flag until like after the year 2000. When did South Carolina pull down its Confederate flag? Okay. No, South Carolina permanently removed the Confederate battle flag from the State House grounds on July 10th, 2015. You heard that? 2015, 11 years ago, less than 11 years ago, the state of South Carolina was still flying the Confederate battle flag. And so you think that it might not be you don't think it's possible it's one of those Confederacy supporters who were pissed off that you were awful at the time in shooting a basketball, that your team at 38-0 had lost to the Lily White girls out of Iowa who had no size, led by Caitlin Clark. I mean, and that's the problem. That's the real problem. You thought it was cool. You thought it was okay to say that literally a couple of weeks ago. So again, this is not even about Raven Johnson. This is about an ownership that's so tone deaf that it doesn't even realize, or maybe it just doesn't care at this point. Maybe it just doesn't care. Maybe it just doesn't care about what you think. So here we are with a WNBA draft that had the Indiana Fever draft 2 5'8", 5'9" guards. I mean, this type of incompetence is glaring. And they drafted a 6'4" power forward wing, Justine Passat as their second round pick, which I think is a good pick. I'm not going to shit on that pick. It's a good pick considering where they got her at. But again, these two women. I mean, the things that they had to say in this is crazy to me. They're basically telling you that they want to sit Caitlin Clark on the bench. They want to rest her. They want to put her and Kelsey Mitchell on the bench to sit while Ty Harris, who's a combo point two guard. Really, she's a two guard who's in a point guard body. You could look at her numbers. She didn't really play point guard at Connecticut because Alyssa Thomas was the actual point guard, and Ty Harris was a de facto, spot up shooter type thing. So has Indiana gotten better as a team? And that's a major question. And I would sit here and I'd tell you that at this point, They're not much different than they were last year. In fact, I would argue that they might be worse. I'd argue that they might be worse. Outside of Caitlin Clark being healthy, I would argue that they might be worse. So now the Indiana Fever have a center with no real backup center. They have a 6'3" backup, Damiris Dantas, who's not very good and barely played last year. You got four power forwards in Monique Billings, a backup, Maisha Hines Allen, a backup, Justine Passat, a rookie, and Michaela Timpson, a hybrid backup from last year's draft. You got two small forwards. They're the same player, Lexi Hull and Sophie Cunningham. Same player, same size, similar skills, although Cunningham's got better skills. Hull is basically a corner jump shooter when she's wide open. And Cunningham can do a little bit more and has less fear of playing basketball. And then at guard, you've got Caitlin Clark, Kelsey Mitchell, Ty Harris, Raven Johnson, and this other girl that they drafted in the third round who was from Alabama, who's 5'8". And in fact, I don't even remember her name because she's not going to make the team more than likely. This is the type of stuff that the Indiana Fever does and has continued to do. Again, this is not about Raven Johnson. I hope that Raven Johnson is successful. I'm an Indiana Fever. I'm a Caitlin Clark fan. By the way, the third Jessica Timmons out of Alabama. I'm sorry, she's listed as a shooting guard. She's 5'8". So we have a 5'8" shooting guard in Jessica Timmons, who's a good shooter, but again, another 5'8" player. This is the smallest team on earth. They are so undersized everywhere. So I ask the question: you have needs, and you go away from your actual needs. Why did you bring in Ty Harris if you're going to go draft a shooting guard with the third round? In the third round, mind you, she probably won't make the team. So then, why did you draft her? Why aren't you drafting players that you would think have a true opportunity to make your basketball team? You don't do that. These ladies are incompetent. They should be fired. They should absolutely be fired at this point because the decisions that were made yesterday in this draft, outside of the lucky drop down of Justine Passat to them at 25, I mean, you can't make up how bad this is. They still don't have a big behind Aaliyah Boston. You got they still don't have a big behind Aaliyah Boston. It's utterly crazy. You still don't have a legitimate power forward because none of these players that power forward are starter level players. None of them are starter level players. Heck, I go out there and I tell you right now, they don't have a legitimate starting three. You don't like to hear that? Sophie Cunningham and Lexi Hull are backups to me in this league. That's why if they had drafted Gabriela Jaquez, if they'd gotten her, she went number 5. But if they'd gotten her, it would have I'm like, she's better than those two. She'd be your starter. But they'd be too afraid to do that. So you have wings that you could have gotten. You could have picked up Cody McMahon. She's a 6-foot guard, but she's a bulldog. And I would run her at the 3 over either of those two players because she's different than what those two players are. She's literally different. And it actually gives you some level of roster manipulation and lineup manipulation to where you can run Cody McMahon at the 2, you could run Caitlin at the 1, you could run Sophie at the 3, like you can, or you can run Caitlin at the 1, Kelsey Mitchell at the 2, Cody McMahon at the 3. Like you have options. You have options. Or you could run Ty Harris at the 1, be as it may, Caitlin at the 2, Cody McMahon at the 3. Like you have there's so many things you can do differently. Raven Johnson is 5'8". Like, let's cut the shit. She's a 5'8" guard, 5'9" guard. Can't guard a 6'2" wing. She can't. I mean, everyone who says, "Oh, she guarded Sarah Strong," please, she did not guard Sarah Strong. She can guard guards. That's who she can guard. And to sit here, I mean, her overall rank in the draft by ESPN was 16. She got taken at number 10. So 16, taken at number 10. Y'all thought she was a top 5 player. Y'all said that out loud. She was a top 5 player. If you think that, you think that. That's your call. People, Indiana Fever fans, think you're trolling them at this point. They think you're messing with them. And look, like I said, we're all family now. If you don't cheer for Raven Johnson's success as a Caitlin Clark fan, then you're cheering for Caitlin Clark's demise, and vice versa. If you don't cheer for Caitlin Clark's success, you're cheering for Raven Johnson's demise as a South Carolina fan. You are. I know you don't want to believe it, but you are. Because Raven Johnson's going to be in the rotation. Raven Johnson is going to be a rotational player. She's going to be the backup point guard at worst. So she will be on that court probably 15, 20 minutes a game. Mark it down. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. She's going to play more than Sydney Colson ever played. I promise you this. And there will be times where Caitlin Clark is now moved over to the 2 and Raven Johnson is playing the 1. Mark it down. It's going to happen. So you can have all your feelings about stuff. These are the facts. You can have your feelings that Caitlin Clark should pick up and take her ball and get the fuck out of there once her contract is expired, for which I'd be shocked if she didn't. I'd be shocked if she didn't. But at the same time, I almost be shocked if she did, because Caitlin Clark is a go along, get along girl. She doesn't have a backbone for shit. She doesn't want to be disliked. She doesn't have that Kobe killer mentality. I don't get like that Kobe killer mentality. I don't give a damn what you. I'm a hooper. I don't care about your feelings. She doesn't have that. Kobe Bryant's a different human being. Same like Michael Jordan. They're numb to emotion. Caitlin Clark is emotional. She has feelings and she doesn't want to be disliked, and I understand it. But it's also the detriment. It's going to be to the detriment of her success and her WNBA career. Nonetheless, everything I'm saying to you right now is real. You have an incompetent front office, but all that being said, Raven Johnson's going to play, and Raven Johnson will be an important piece to this team. Whether you like it or not, she's going to be an important piece. And whether you like it or not, on either side, you're going to have to get along a little. You're going to have to get along. If you don't, then you're going to have a dumpster fire and the season will collapse. But hey, none of this surprises me. It is what it is. So y'all leave y'all thoughts in the comments. Has anything that I've said resonated with you? If it has, please leave a comment. If it hasn't, please leave a comment. Hype the video. Subscribe to the channel. Ring the bell. Leave your comments. I appreciate y'all. This is Her Game, Her Way Women's Basketball. Powered by Come On Now, the podcast. Come on now.